All right. So here we play. You play
The
against
German Grandmaster Uhlmann. Yes. Again, he was well known, one of the best players in German history. I mean, together with Hunziker, he was probably the best German player in their chess history. I mean, East Germany and West Germany. And now, of course, from the German chess in general.
yeah.
And the game is very important because we both played our favorite plan. He was playing for white, I was playing for black. The so-called variation for black is called hedgehog. Is some very tactical and positional, setting for black, where black waits a little bit to have a good game immediately after the opening in some middle game, very complicated middle game. The move order again is very important, we'll see. And in any position, you have some small surprise, and the move order is very important. The game can change in any time, every move like this. So until now, everything's theory. G3, B6 is very good idea. Now he takes in D4, bishop takes with the queen. If he takes with the knight, white has nothing. Knight takes D4, bishop B7 is already very good for black. So, okay, queen D4, bishop B7, bishop G2, D6, castle, bishop E7, E4. Here and before, it was always better to play the knight, we'll see, in D7, not in C6. After knight C6, the game is more or less even, but a small edge for white, always. But with the knight in D7 later on, it's more flexible. Black can choose a little bit the plan, like this. And it's very good. I played a lot of games like this against very strong players. Against Korchnoi himself, I played 3 or 4 times with black, and I never lost. I had always a good game with black. And that means that the variation is good for black.
Yeah.
And the game was also very important because some very strong grandmasters like Anderson, Ljubojevic, and so on played with pleasure this for black, and always they had very good results also. The game is very interesting. As you see, the game is important theoretically because any position is like in a Sicilian. The only big difference is that the pawn in B6 is not in B5. The usual line for black in Sicilian is to have the position with A6 and B5. Here it's impossible because you can't move in B5, you lose the pawn.
Yeah.
So the only difference is that the pawn is still in B6, but this is Sicilian setting for black.
Mm-hmm.
And that means the position is okay.
Yeah.
Sicilian is a very good variation for black, usually. So,
yeah.
Okay, so queen e3, that is the main variation for Uhlmann. He played always with pleasure this. He played it with Ljubojevic, he played it with Ribli, with many strong grandmasters, and he played always with pleasure. Later on, Korchnoi played also this for white. This is a little bit unpleasant because white has more space. I mean, the only problem for black is to move around like this, here and there, and find always the good plan because white has more space, and in one moment, you lack your moves with black. You don't have enough moves. This is the only threat for white.
So white is looking to attack on the king side?
No, he waits. He
to see.
He has a very good position in center.
Yes.
He puts later on the knight on D4, on D2, the bishop in B2, B3, bishop B2, and so on. He moves the rooks on the central squares, D1, E1 usually.
Yes.
And he waits to see what happens if black finish. I mean, black in one moment doesn't have any more moves. This is the white hope, And you have to demonstrate that in any position you have your counterplay. You have enough moves to have a small counterplay with black. Okay. And therefore the game is very important, theoretically.
Let's see how black will run out of moves.
Yeah, okay. So now you have to play. Yeah, he threatens. Again, now after knight d4, the threat was if you play, for instance, immediately knight d7 was a mistake. Knight d7.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was threatening d5, e5, Here, for instance, e5. And now what can do? Black do. You can't take with the knight because you lose a piece in b7. Now, if you take immediately in g2, Yeah, now you are lost immediately. Bishop takes b7, you lost a piece. Yeah.
Yes.
So if you take, for instance, in g2, yeah, he takes in f6 and he wins. You lose 2 pieces for rook,
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you take, for instance, with the pawn in e5, if you take with the pawn in e5, he can take simply in b7 and has 2 bishops and a small advantage, But he can try to have a little bit more, and he can try to take immediately in e6, very unpleasant, So now here d takes e5, and now after knight takes e6, what happens?
Knight takes c6.
E6, yeah. I want to take the queen.
Yes.
So you have to take back, and now look at the position. I take in b7, I have 2 bishops, and the defensive position for black is ruined, very bad.
Yeah.
Position is lost for black, Yeah. So queen c7 is very important. It's a good move. Okay, so now he comes back to his idea here, b3, bishop b2. Okay, now small edge, bishop b2, and now rook e8. This is the main line. You have to put the bishop back in f8, and later on to play g6 and bishop g7. This is the counterplay for black. And then it's important to move the rook in a good place. You have the 3 possibilities: b8, c8, d8. In any case,
this rook
is different. The other rook. Yeah. So the plan was like this: to play the bishop in f8. Moving the bishop away, and had the possibility to play later on the move d5, because on the e file the rook is already there, on e8. It's okay for black. Therefore, I told you the move order is very important for black, in any position. So h3, bishop f8, rook e1. Okay. So now knight c8. He plays king h2. He waits again. He was preparing the move order to try to win a piece later on. I told you. So king h2, rook d8, very important. And now he played, knight c2, bishop g7, rook e2. Yeah. Now he had to play bishop a1 because black was threatening knight takes e4. On the big diagonal, the bishop from b2 was hanging,
Yes.
And now he gives you the move. Now, if you don't have the move d5, the white position is clearly better,
Yeah.
But after the move d5, the position is very, very complicated. But it seems that this move order is not good because you have some possibility to lose something with black,
With black?
We'll see. Well, with black. So now he plays e5. Everything is forced. So you have to move the knight there, no?
Yeah.
He takes in d5. Now you take in e5. And now f4. And now what can you do? If you move back the knight in d7,
Yes.
yeah, you lose a piece after b4. This is the main problem,
There is no square for the...
Yeah, it's very unpleasant.
Yeah.
So what to do? So, this is the threat, for him. Okay. So, you give a piece for a big initiative with black, Everything is forced. He has to take in e5. Now again, the best move, d4. You give also the pawn from d4.
Yeah.
Yeah. He has to take, no?
Yes.
Now rook takes e5. Now, very strong initiative by black, but the position is more or less, equal, let's say, even. But he has to play very careful with white. If he makes a small mistake, he's lost. Yeah. So queen f2, and now knight d3. Excellent move. And maybe here, if he plays queen takes f7 check, he has a good chance to make draw. Maybe. But instead, he played queen g1, and now white is losing. If he plays queen takes f7, everything is forced. You have to take in f7, no?
Yes.
He takes in f7.
Yeah,
Afterwards with the rook, no? You take there.
Yes.
Queen takes. Rook takes. And now what to do? You have to take in f7 or you have to take in g2. If you take in g2, after rook takes g7 is already better for white, You have to be very careful. If you take in f7 immediately, after rook takes, after king takes f7, bishop takes b7, the game is more or less even, because now you have to take in d4 with the rook. And now after knight e4, white is saved already, it seems. I didn't find a way to win by force with black, But maybe he could save the game if he played like this,
Yeah.
But he had a piece, And of course, having a piece, he played the move which is normal, queen g1. It seems, okay, I can try to resist by having a piece, And he played queen g1. And now black is winning. Rook takes d4. Now what can he do? If the rook was in e2, If now white takes back in d4, he's completely lost after rook takes e2.
If he takes like that?
Yes. After rook takes e2, the bishop from g2 is hanging, the queen from d4 is hanging.
Yeah.
He's completely lost here.
Yes.
Yeah.
This one.
Yeah.
And this one.
Yeah. So therefore, very nasty surprise. And rook d2, but now is too much, And now rook e3. Look at the position. Black has complete initiative, control all over the board,
Yeah.
and win in any position, In many, in some position, we threaten already. Rook takes g3, and queen takes g3, bishop e5, and he loses the queen.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So what can he do? The only way is the way he played, but it's too late. Rook takes f3, takes, and now queen d8. Okay, we look at the position. Everything until now was very interesting. Black played very beautiful idea, by giving the piece and so on. But now the position is clear. Black has pawn, complete initiative, and winning position. Because has no counterplay at all. We control everything. The knight from d3 is very strong. The bishop from g7 is much stronger than the bishop from a1. The rook from d4 has a very strong position. And the queen from d8 defends everything. So it's only a problem of technique, how to win this with black,
Yeah.
It's a technical way to have to show how you win. Okay, so the rest of the game was like this. Queen e3.
I guess waiting move here, maybe?
Well, has no counterplay, has to wait, Rook d7, again, defends everything, Rook e2, and now very good move, h6. If he wants to trade queens, again, the position is completely winning for black, Pawn up, the bishop from a1 is pinned,
Yeah.
And in any case, we try to win something, a pawn, a piece, a decisive check, everything is forced, So queen g1 again. And now we try to have again an attacking position. We tried again to come with the rook to d2 or to d3. Well, the game is completely winning. So now, queen g2, he was also in very big time trouble. The game is, more or less very simple from this moment. Rook, again, we come again with our pieces, in d3, in d4, and so on. Between other ideas, we try to give a rook for two pieces in c3. Wins by force in any position. So bishop b2, we take, he takes, and now, okay, the only move, and he took a pawn, okay, but now it's very clear, he has to play like this. Again, we don't trade queens, we play queen c5. In time trouble, such a move is terrible because we have all the threats and he has no counterplay at all,
Yeah.
So rook f1, waiting move, okay, h5. We threaten between our other things h4, opening the position, trying to give the last check, against the white king. So queen e4, okay, b5, again, he has to move something, rook e1. This was the decisive moment. I mean, the decisive mistake Rookie won. And after this check, he resigned. No,
Yeah, he
he
resigned.
loses everything now. Yeah. For instance, if he plays King H1, we can take simply in G3, or we can play finally Knight F3, and we win in any position. You know. Knight
Yes.
F3 wins. We threaten 3 mates. You know, in H2, in E1, and in later on after King Rook E2, for instance, Queen F1 mate. You know. No, it's too much. Much too
Yeah.
much. Yeah.
So after this,
Queen F1 mate. Yeah. Well, the game was very, very nice, very beautiful, but it looks like this, that in any position you have to calculate very well, even if you have a piece, you know, because the piece was less important than a very big initiative from Black. You know, Black has a very strong initiative, which was more than compensation for the sacrificed piece. You know. And he had probably to try Queen takes F7 check, try to make a draw, you know, maybe. You know.
yeah, not
But
not keeping the peace.
well, not keeping the peace because it was much too dangerous. The way he played probably is forced win for Black. You know.
Yeah.
In that moment, the game was one of the most important games in theory, the theory of this variation. It was very important for Black, the Black way to play this. You know. And demonstrates how you can try, how you can resist, how you can play for win with Black.
How can you turn the table?
Yes.
In your favor.
Right. And again, at the highest level, very important game because afterwards, every good grandmaster played the same with Black. You know, so it happened always like this.
Nice. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Gheorghiu.
You are.